So in today's What's for Dinner, I've got some easy weeknight meals you're not going to want to miss. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Amanda. So today's What's for Dinner has some really easy and yummy weeknight meal ideas for you. Our family really enjoyed these and I think you will too. Now this video is also really special because it's in collaboration with my friend Jen Chapin. She is a full-time working mom and does like meal prep, lots of recipes. She's also doing Vlogmas right now. So make sure you go check out her channel. I'll have her information linked below in the description box. I know she's got some really delicious recipes just waiting for you. Let her know I sent you and show her some love. Now, if you're coming over from Jen's channel, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. I do all kinds of what's for dinners, recipes. It's really all about food content here. So if you're looking for new meal ideas, this is the place for you. I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. Also, go ahead and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any time I post. It'll let you notify you every time I post a new video. Now, if you're really looking forward to these recipes, I'd love it if you'd give me a thumbs up, and let's go ahead and get into the video. So first up, we have the spinach and artichoke chicken bake. And this recipe was super simple and so good. If you like spinach artichoke dip, you will really probably enjoy this recipe. It was so good. I love artichokes. I just love their flavor. Now I'm just dicing up half a can of artichokes and setting them aside, and then we're gonna get started building like our mixture, almost like a spinach artichoke dip mixture. And I've actually never made, spinach and artichoke dip. I'm sure this is pretty close. I have seen some recipes for spinach artichoke dips that also call for cream cheese. And I believe I saw some in the comments mention that they even did that. So if you already have a tried and true spinach and artichoke dip recipe, you could also use that as the topping. I think this would work just the same. So I've just got some mozzarella cheese there and some Parmesan cheese that I've added together and mixed well. We're just going to set aside almost a cup of that to top our chicken breasts, in the spinach mixture with too. In a separate bowl, we're going to go ahead and combine our mayonnaise, sour cream, mustard, it's Dijon mustard, onion, salt and pepper, garlic powder. I actually went ahead, the recipe talked about seasoning the chicken breast, but I just went ahead and added the seasonings to this topping. I felt like since it was going to be on top of the chicken that it would soak into the chicken, and things like that some. So I didn't bother doing the seasoning on the chicken. I just topped it with this, but you can do it however way you'd like it, whatever you feel like works best for you. But we're just going to get all that mixed together. Then we're going to fold in our spinach and artichoke hearts. And I've just got some spinach that I just tore, this baby spinach, and I just tore into small kind of bite-sized pieces. And once we get that all good and combined, we're going to be able to top our chicken breasts with it. I definitely recommend, if you can find thinner chicken breasts, or if you want to take time to kind of pound them out, make them a little more even, that will, number one, help it cook quicker, but also you'll have a really good ratio of the topping to the chicken. Mine weren't super thick, so I didn't pound them out and make them thin or anything. But after trying this recipe, I think that I would probably try to do thinner, chicken pieces. That way that you'd have that, like I said, that better ratio of the topping. That topping is so amazing. And so this actually gave me enough for 6 chicken breasts, and the recipe said 3 to 4. So I felt like it made a lot of the topping. And I did see some people say in the comments that they had leftover topping, so I thought this would work well with 6. So I was crossing my fingers that I had enough, and I did. And now we're just topping each one of the chicken breasts with that cheese we reserved, and we're going to bake that for about 30 to 40 minutes, just until the chicken's cooked. I encourage you to always check that with a thermometer. You want it to get to 165 degrees, and then you should be good to go. Now we're just going to get working on some orzo to have as a side. I just melted some butter and I'm kind of toasting the orzo. Now, surprisingly, this recipe I found online did not call for any seasonings. So I did like garlic powder, a little bit of onion, salt, that type of thing. You can put anything you want in here. I also added some parsley, but definitely feel free to use whatever seasonings you like. And then you're going to go ahead and pour in some chicken broth. And this is going to come to kind of like a low boil. And then we're going to, put a lid on it and let it cook for about 15 minutes. So it's really quick. It's not, it doesn't take long at all. And it's such a neat side. I haven't cooked a lot with orzo. And so I was really impressed with this because it was just so simple, and it went really well with the chicken artichoke bake too. So I just liked a little bit of that pasta flavor with, all that creaminess of the topping and everything. So it was a great side dish choice. And I think you could really change up the flavors here so much by whatever seasonings you add to it. So I feel like it could be very versatile too. And there was just me adding what I mentioned earlier with the parsley on top. I'm also going to top a little bit of the parsley here when we see it on the plate, but I got a little heavy-handed with that, so it's a little green, but it does add that little pop of color. But there's our chicken. It's all done, and I did cover it with a little foil just at the last little bit to make sure it didn't get too brown. But we've got our orzo and we've got our chicken, and this was an absolutely delicious meal and very easy. So next up we have our ground beef and macaroni soup. This recipe comes from Six Sisters Stuff. I haven't cooked a lot of recipes for them, but I know they're like pretty popular. So I thought, I bet this would be good. It had good reviews. So we're just going ahead and chopping up our onion. And y'all, this was like a huge hit with my family. My kids absolutely love this soup. In fact, like there was none left over. So I definitely recommend this recipe. It was super easy. So we're just going to go ahead and saute our onion up in our pan. And I'm just using kind of a larger kind of stock pot type pan so that, I can go ahead and just cook everything in here. I have my ground beef that I take and cook in batches. Like I bulk cook my ground beef and freeze it. So I didn't have to start off with cooking my ground beef. If you don't have any in your freezer like that, go ahead and start with your ground beef, and then you'll do your onions to it and your garlic. I will have that linked below the video where I show how I do that. It's super easy and it's so handy. I use it for tacos, for spaghetti, for things like this. It's just so quick to just pull that out of the freezer and have it ready to go. And I'm just adding some seasonings in here like black pepper, oregano, those type of things. Of course, you can add some salt. And we're going to go ahead and add in our chicken broth. Now, this recipe calls for 26 ounces of spaghetti sauce. I had like a partial thing of spaghetti sauce in the refrigerator, and I went ahead and mixed that with a jar of the pizza sauce, and that worked just fine. I think that any of those type things, pizza sauce, pasta sauce is going to work fine. I just want to make sure I had, the 26 ounces. And then we're also going to put in a can of diced tomatoes, drained. I like to use the petite diced tomatoes. I don't really like the big chunks of them in soups and stuff like that. And that's my frozen ground beef that I was talking about. So like I said, I just freeze it and I just put it in there frozen because it'll thaw out as the soup starts to cook. And y'all, I just cannot tell you how easy that makes things when you just pull that block out of the freezer. And I've softened some cream cheese in the microwave, and we're going to go ahead and add that in and just whisk that together really well. Make sure that gets like completely melted and combined in there. Now the recipe calls for fresh basil. I didn't have that, but I had like the freeze-dried basil. I think it's like Lighthouse brand or something like that. So I used that. And then also we're going to go ahead and add in our noodles and let that cook for about 10 minutes with the lid on, or just until your pasta is done to your liking. And then it's going to be ready to go. I mean, seriously, it is so simple. And soup is so like yummy this time of year. We've got a lot of cooler weather and all that kind of stuff. Let me know what your favorite soup is down in the comments below. I always think soup is just such a comforting kind of meal. But like I said, this was a huge hit. We're definitely going to be making this more often because everyone loved it. And next up, we have a chicken Alfredo pizza. This pizza is so good and super simple because we're going to use like a pre-made, kind of crust, and that's going to make it even easier. So we're going to just slice up some red onions and some tomatoes and get those ready. And this is really kind of like, I guess, like a Greek Mediterranean style type pizza. And we're going to use jarred Alfredo sauce for the pizza sauce. You could obviously use homemade if you'd like to too. It's just, that's usually quick and easy, is to have the jarred pasta sauce like that and use that. And so just however much you like to put on there. I don't measure anything like that. I just kind of, look at it and see when it looks, like it's got enough on there. We're going to go ahead and start layering our chicken. This was just cooked chicken I had that I needed to use up, and I thought this would be a great way to do it. We actually ended up making 2 of these so that we had enough, because these are so very good. Like I said, super simple too, and it's just something different, what kind of led me to kind of think of this pizza recipe was my husband used to love to get these chicken Alfredo flatbreads they had at Olive Garden. They don't have them anymore, unfortunately, but in that they're so good. And so this kind of is reminiscent of that, only I've added even more stuff to it. So I've got some spinach I'm adding in there. Now we're going to go ahead and top it with our onions, and we're going to go ahead and put the cheese on, the mozzarella cheese, then add the tomatoes, and then add some feta on top of that. Now you could also add in some, olives to this if you wanted to. There's different things you could add if you like, like other things to it. I mean, to me, I like a pizza that's packed with a lot of different toppings. I don't like just plain pizza as much. So I feel like you definitely can't go wrong with adding other things to this too. Black olives would be really good, or maybe Kalamata olives or something like that. So that would give, a really nice, interesting flavor to it as well. And that pop of that feta, when it gets all toasty and yummy in the oven, especially with that tomato on there, oh my word, it's so good. It's super simple. You can use a flatbread, you can use pita, you can use whatever you like as the base, and it will be good. Naan bread would be excellent with it too. So any of those options would be great. You're going to bake it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes, just until everything's all melted and all nice and toasty. So next up we have ground beef Mongolian noodles. So I don't know about y'all, but we absolutely love Chinese food, any of that stuff like that. And it's always fun to recreate different things like that at home and those flavors and everything. So this was kind of, that kind of flavor profile to it. I've just got some linguine noodles back there that I was boiling. I'm going to steam some veggies to go with this. And again, I'm utilizing my cooked ground beef already. So it's so simple, and I'm just adding in some garlic, and we're going to add a little powdered ginger. It does call for fresh ginger. I didn't have any on hand, so I used the powder kind, and that usually seems to work fine with us, but I know fresh ginger would probably be way better, so I need to try to remember to keep that on hand, because we do like to do Asian dishes different times that, of course, a lot of times call for ginger. So once I've let my garlic cook for just a minute, I'm going to go ahead and add in some beef broth and some soy sauce, and I changed the proportions of those, so I'll have that linked down, all the recipes linked in the description box, but I'll also include my notes, that way that you know what I've changed and that type of thing. But I also added some hoisin sauce. I subbed honey for the brown sugar. And I will say, I feel like this ended up being a little sweet for me. My kids loved it and everything, so they didn't think it was too sweet. But I felt like it was a little too sweet. I think I will cut back the honey just a little bit next time. The recipe also didn't call for sesame oil, but I wanted to add that. I feel like that flavor is just almost a requirement in dishes like this. And of course, we're just adding some pepper in here. It also calls for red pepper flakes. We chose not to do red pepper flakes, and we actually added a little sriracha here in just a little bit, you'll see. So I feel like a lot of these things like this, you can play with it so much to whatever you like, and it's really easy to adapt these. So now that we've kind of let everything kind of meld together, we're adding a cornstarch slurry, which is just some cornstarch and water mixed together. Once that sauce kind of thickens up just a little bit, we're ready to add in our cooked linguine noodles, and you could use any other kind of noodle that you like too, like maybe you like rice noodles or something like that, but this worked really well. We liked the texture. I love to get the Rayo's noodles. Oh my word, those are like the best noodles ever. They just have a different texture to them, and we love them so much. But I'm just adding in that sriracha. Ideally, you would have added that with the sauce, but I totally forgot to add it. So I do recommend adding it with the sauce mixture before you add the noodles in, just because I think it blends together well. But you're just going to get this all tossed together, make sure it's all good and combined. I topped it with a little bit of sesame seeds and some chives, and we've got our steamed veggies there, which were really good with this. Such a yummy meal. So thank y'all so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out Jen's channel on her video. I have it linked below. I know she's got some delicious things ready for you, so I know you'll want to check that out. I hope you have a blessed day wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.